Hello, my name is Lyons, and welcome to Raven Insight, a place where we come to hide from the world and talk about the road to higher spiritual consciousness. Today, today's topic is going to be a little follow-up on the last video. I'm calling this The Dawn After the Dark Night. Okay? So, on the last video that I put out last week, which is on Wednesday or Thursday, I was a little ranty. The whole passage of the big beautiful bill in Congress basically has kicked me and my partner and my children and even my parents who are on Medicaid all off of healthcare next year. So everyone in my house, and we all rely on medications, we all rely on a lot of things just to stay healthy. And if I'm not healthy, how am I supposed to get a job? And I'm supposed to just run out and get one of these magic jobs that all vanish to India somehow in order to stay alive. And obviously this causes a lot of frustration, and when I was mired in that, I wanted to put it on video so that you could see it for a few reasons. One, I knew that I'd be chill today. Like, I'm sure I was animated and frustrated, and you probably heard me and are like, oh my god, is Lyons all right? Do we have to call the authorities or something, get a care check in there? But no, you gotta understand, I am an animated guy. I'm very hyperbolic when I talk. I've just always been an actor entertainer type, so it's part of who I am is in my delivery. But the other part of it is like, yeah, no, it sucks and it's really frustrating and it hurts. And so I wanted you to see the hurt and know that somebody who has gone through a spiritual journey many, many times still has these days. And so why do we have these days? And if the spiritual journey is so great, then why do we have frustrations and suffering and stress, and how does this help us? And that's what I want to explain today, is what happens on the other side of that dark night. Because everything is important. I've talked about cycles in life and cycles and frequencies and energies. Well, there's also cycles to the spiritual journey. The process isn't over until you die. So, and I've talked about how it goes and it loops and it goes and it loops and it goes up. Okay, I've said that several times. You're probably getting sick of me saying it. But one thing I should add is those first loops are really big. Like the first time you go through this, it could be a bad crash, it could take a year, you could like really be messed up for a long time until you work through the steps in the process. Shadow incorporation, putting your ego aside, quieting those voices, feeling the pain of the emotive self. Once you learn the techniques, what happens is these, just like a cone shape, right? You have the bigger spirals that are kind of getting smaller as they go up, just like music at octaves, lower octaves, frequencies get tighter as they go up. The circles are the same, but as the frequencies go up, the circles, the frequency of the cycle increases. So it goes up and it becomes like a cone. Well, it's the same thing with the spiritual journey. Like, you may go through the cycles, but because you now have the tools and the understanding of what's really going on under the hood, it makes it a lot easier each time you go through it to go through it faster. And when you do, you get more benefit out of it. So looking back to my last video and the frustrations that I had. So what happened after that? You know, honestly, I'm going to be completely honest with you. For about 2 more days after I put out the video, I was in a very bad way. Like, I was stressed, and you know, my mind started panicking and going back into older modes of thinking and older modes of behavior, ones that didn't work for me before. So guess what? They're not working for me now. And even though those old coping mechanisms are familiar and comfortable, they're no good. And so much of what we have to do in the spiritual journey is faith-based, because you have to take a chance on yourself and say, well, everything I've done up to this point doesn't work, so I got to junk all that and really try for the unknown and try something completely different. And the unknown is just inherently scary because it could always go worse. And you never know, so you have to take that leap of faith. Like when everything that you've been taught and everything in your mind and all your values are saying go, 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 but the universe and your soul are saying stop and rest. I mean, that's a big conflict, and it takes an act of bravery to sit down. And then you'll get judged for it too, because it's like, well, you're in this bad situation and now you're sitting down. But it just because you're active doesn't mean that you're moving in a direction. You know, if you're running back and forth, if a football player's trying to score in the end zone, but he's doing too much east-west and not enough north-south, you know, you could run 100 yards but not get anywhere, right? You're not getting to your goal. So you have to know when it's time to stay back and channel and focus on that energy, which is really what I did to get out of this dark night of the soul I was in last week. And the process is it's emotive. Okay, it's hard to explain, but there comes a point where you have to just be really quiet and you have to feel the pain. I just had to feel all the pain. All the pain of the fear of what could or may happen to my family in a year. All the pain of people just who are hardworking. I mean, they might be migrants, but they're hardworking people just trying to make their way in this world like everybody else. And that hurts me. So a few lessons I actually learned out of this. Really, what was really bothering me last week wasn't about me. And it wasn't about the things that are going to happen to me. I can more or less accept that. I'll figure something out. But what really hurts me is the world. And I find the further you go on the spiritual path of enlightenment, one of the side effects that isn't so comfortable is you get very, 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 very sensitive to all the suffering in the world. Like, once you expand your mind to understand that you are that kid in Bangladesh, like you are the kid in the Ukraine getting the bombs dropped on you, you are the Palestinians in Gaza getting killed, that's you, man. And then you're funding a government that does this to yourself, while at the same time actively putting people in cages and actively hurting you. There's so much pain in the world, and even if it doesn't affect me personally, and I'm sure there's people who heard my rant about my lineage and stuff in the last video, and they're like going, oh, poor white man, blah, blah, blah. But that wasn't really my point. My point was, I'm the whitest of white men. Like, my DNA test comes back saltine, okay? I'm a cracker. And like, yeah, I'm very liberal. So I'm in their gun sites. And my family has lived here forever. So again, the stupid homegrown immigrant argument, I was just trying to blow that out of the water by showing how long I was here, but letting people know that doesn't matter. My skin color, my race, my pedigree, none of that matters. They'll throw me in a cage just as easy as they'll throw you in a cage. And that's the only reason I even went into it, is to show as an example, I'm not a Mexican and I'm already being affected. So it will happen to you, okay? And these are just truths. And there's something inside me, I want to save all of you. Like, my heart goes out to all of you. I'll survive. Like, I'm a survivor. That's who I am. I don't care. I'm also a Canadian citizen. Like, worst case scenario for me, man, I sell everything that I have. I get in the boat that's on my dock and I drive it across that river. I just dock it at whoever will let me, and I walk on shore and I'm like, I'm home, everybody. So like, I have a way out. Not everybody does. And that, it bothers me, because this should be a society of what we make it to be, and we've just chosen to make such a bad society out of like fear and greed and selfishness and hate, when it could be about love and sharing and compassion just as easily. And you have people running around screaming that they're followers of Christ and they're all about compassion, and they're some of the worst ones. So there's hypocrisy, right? And there's no rationalizing this. So in that time when you're feeling all this and you're feeling that pressure of the world caving in on you, and you feel all those stresses and your heart's now expanded, right? First of all, that's a great sign. That's a great symptom. Like, you're no longer stuck in ego. Like, when you're When yourself gets hurt, that's when the ego comes in and says, oh, we got to make sure this doesn't happen again. Oh, well, next time we'll have more money and we'll be richer so they can't make fun of us for being poor. Oh, next time I'm going to lose weight, so next time they can't make fun of me for being fat. Like, that's the ego. But when you're sitting here crying about people in the world who you don't even know, just because you don't want them to suffer, like, your heart has expanded, and it's a wonderful thing. But you know what you have to do is sit with that delicious, exquisite pain, which is what it is. It's very melancholy. You feel the sadness, you feel the pain, but in that feeling there's such great love. Like, in feeling that pain of others, you are generating love inside yourself, whether you know it or not. And I'm not saying be performative, right? You know how I feel about performative pain, so don't go on Facebook and cry for the babies and start these charities. I mean, if you're gonna give them the money, and don't follow through on that, but don't make it all about your ego and how bad you feel and everybody cry for me because I'm crying for others, right? Like in the Bible, when there's a passage about, when you pray, do it in private. Something's eating me alive. When you pray, do it in private. And when you're fasting, don't let people see that you're fasting. You know what I mean? Like, just clean yourself, present yourself. And so many people, what is that? Get off. Oh, it's a horsefly. So many people, religious folk, like to be performative in that way. And let people know that they're suffering. Let people see the problems. It's their way of showing, oh, this is how dedicated I am to my religion. And now we're doing the same thing on Facebook, right? It's virtue signaling. It's a form of virtue signaling. And so don't virtue signal. Just feel it. The other thing that we do is we want to naturally rationalize it. And you can't. So when you're in that dark night of the soul and there's a certain degree where you are using reason to, like, pull apart your own life, right? And explore these things that happen to you and face them and embrace them so that you can reincorporate the things that you've shut aside. But sometimes you need to put the thinking aside and just feel. Because there is no rationalizing it. There is no, well, yeah, we're putting these people in cages, but really I feel bad about this because, no, just don't. Don't. Because I find that one of the problems with rationalizing is it can then lead to catastrophizing. Like, we use our brain to try to logically think things out, but then in doing so, a lot of times, if there's fear driving us hidden behind the curtain of reason, we'll naturally gravitate towards conclusions that lead us to believe the worst in everything, right? And then you start feeding on that and that negative energy, and then you start believing that negative energy, and you start filling yourself up with that negative energy, and then you start worrying, and then the process starts all over again. You know what I mean? So sometimes, again, it's very hard for a results-oriented, like, action-oriented, discipline-oriented person who has lived in the age of reason their entire life, when they're confronted with a complex problem and they are stuck and don't know how to solve it, it's very hard to know when to stop and to just say, it's time for the self-care. All right, I need to stop. I need to meditate. I need to go for a walk in the woods. I need to just not think of anything for a while, right? Like, it's like in a computer when there's too much junk stored in the memory, right? Your computer starts to slow down. You reboot the computer. You clean out that junk collection in the memory. You get rid of it so that there's space for things to come in. Because if you're maximized out, you're not going to think clearly. If you're in a negative space, you're not going to think clearly. So all these solutions that you're going to come up with are going to do that lateral movement instead of that nice north-south like you really need. And so then you need to know when to sit and be quiet. But then there comes a point where in this quiet, it will end. And you have to know when it's time for it to end. And for me, I was a little depressed about this, and I was beating myself up. And I had just had enough, so I just laid down to take a nap. I took a nap, meditated for a few minutes, and honestly, I just have stuff around the house I got to take care of. I had to do some painting because we had some contracting done in the bathroom. So I had to touch up some paintwork in the bathroom and touch up paint another wall that we had to move, etc. But I didn't want to do that. I got bills I got to pay. I got to bring the kids to school and do this. I got to run around and get groceries. I got to do the laundry. I had all these stupid things, but I was just paralyzed and indecision. And I had rested, I had meditated, I had thought it out. I had the laundry list of the things that were hanging over my head, aside from all the problems of the world that I was dwelling on. And, like, what are you going to do? You can't lay there forever. I felt like my self-care time was done. My rest was done. I had nothing more to feel. And now I was starting to catastrophize. I was starting to think more than feel. And once that trigger hit where I was thinking more than feeling, I was like, enough's enough. Just go do something. And so I did the easiest thing that I could do to see accomplishment, to see the ball being moved forward, and that was to just go paint those rooms. And I did. And at some point, just in the process of the painting, the rest of that lingering pain went away. Are all the problems solved? No. Do I have a job? No. Do I know what I'm going to do when my health care benefits go away? No. Did it force me to think about what I want to do with this channel? Yeah. Maybe I'll expand into Substack. Maybe I'll start developing materials to go along with these talks, put all this stuff on Substack, cut it up, reorganize it better, and then add leave behinds. So even in that time when I'm stressed and I'm thinking of these other things and I'm not really wanting to deal with stuff, by putting myself in a nice comfortable place and not simply retreating back to old habits, what happened was my brain started to think of what's next and what's possible. Will it work? I don't know. But it's something next. It's something possible. I thought of other opportunities of things that I could do. I thought of other approaches, thought of other timelines, thought of other priorities of things that I need to do. My partner and I are informally married, but I think I'm just gonna pull the trigger and finally marry her so that can be all official and all on record. And then I want us to get our passports and the kids. So again, if we have to flee, that's done. So even though I'm not solving problem A, hey, problem B is getting fixed, right? So I don't know, I guess the universe wanted problem B fixed, and it's not yet time to deal with problem A. And realistically, if you get rid of everyone's healthcare coverage in this country, come on. Once people start dropping, once people start dying, once people really see the impacts of what's going to happen, I mean, you're talking nationwide unrest. And that's probably why they gave ICE so much funding. But you just can't. We're not 1930s Germany. We've seen the playbook before. We know how it all works. People are already pushing back. The leadership in charge of Washington is incompetent. They have floods in Texas after getting rid of weather satellites and getting rid of FEMA, and they blame it on gay Jewish space lasers. We're not serious people. People who believe that kind of crap, people who lay that kind of crap out, I mean, long term, it's just not gonna work. And surely you all see this, right? I don't know. But my point being, there's only so much worrying about it now, because I know like the whiplash is going to be so great, something is going to come out of it, and it might even be universal health care. So who knows? But my point to conclude on all of this is, just because you have a dark night of the soul, just because something bad happens, just because there's this new thing that's whacked you over the head, don't instantly give everything up and say, well, none of it's been worth it, right? Take the skills that you've learned in your spiritual practice, and remember, it's called the practice because you got to practice at it and actually do the thing. Take those tools that you've developed and apply them when it happens again. And then the cycle goes quicker. And then apply them next time. Because every time you do, you get a little bit wiser, you get a little bit closer to the divine. Like, more problems go away. All suffering will never go away completely. But you learn how to manage it better. You learn how to deal with these cycles better. You get more lessons under your belt, and you grow that wisdom. And with that wisdom comes love. So that's really all I had for you today. It's short and sweet, right? But I just wanted to say, like, it doesn't matter when these things hit and how intense they are. It's like this. See this? I got a storm coming in. It's right about to hit me. One of the reasons I'm kind of wrapping this bad boy up so quickly. But it doesn't matter, because just like this storm, it's going to come in. It's going to come in hard. It's going to come fast. It's going to dump a lot of water. It's going to hit us with lightning. And in half an hour, it's going to be gone. And that's like so much of the troubles of our life. And you don't see me running away because I'm not getting rained on yet. I stand in front of the storm calmly, peacefully, knowing that all I have to do is walk in that house and I can get out of it. So that's it. When you find yourself stuck in another dark night of the soul, calm, feel emotively, try not to think about it too rationally, apply all the skills and the techniques, the meditative breathing, the reflection, and remember to stay focused on love. You're going to become more sensitive as time goes on, because the more you love, the more you want to love, and the more suffering you see in the world, the harder it will become for you. But that's okay. That's the growth we need. Finally get to a place in this world where we can all be together in a nice global community. We're supporting each other in love. And I'll leave you with that thought for today. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. Once again, I am Lions, and this is Raven Insight. Thank you so much. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye now.